Thank you very much for inviting me to this session. It's a real treat to be doing it over lunchtime, even though it's a really busy day for us because we've got a big community event tomorrow. So everybody's running about preparing, and I feel like I'm skiving a bit. So my name is Webster. I work at Caldmore Community Garden in Walsall, West Midlands. I've been involved at the garden for almost 10 years, and the garden has been in place for 10 years, a bit more than 10 years now. Just to tell you a little bit more in terms of background about the neighborhood and also about the garden itself. So Caldmore is one of those inner city, very diverse neighborhood with quite a large, with probably the majority of the community would be of South Asian origin, mostly Bangladeshi and Pakistani, quite a sizable Eastern European community. So I would say the minority ethnic would be, minority. About 86% children are from BAME background at local schools. So that probably tells you a little bit more about what the neighborhood is like in terms of ethnic background. So we have a lot of different traditions, a lot of different languages, different expectations and attitudes towards communal life. It's very exciting and very inspiring. Sometimes comes with challenges, miscommunications, and obviously different, various difficulties in terms of engaging with those communities and changing as a space. Because even if I look at, my background is Polish, which you can probably tell from my accent. When I came and became involved in the project, the Poles and maybe Slovaks and Czechs were the new community locally. And now it's very much different. I would say we get the new communities would be new wave of Afghan and also Syrian refugees. There is quite a big new African community. Still some of the newer European Union countries like Bulgarians and Romanians. But there has been an awful lot of a change over those 10 years. And again, that's the big question to a community project that wants to involve people from all of those communities. How do we bring people together? How do we involve them? How do we communicate with them? How do we reflect the community that we are a part of? Obviously, there are some misconceptions and stereotypes there. So there is, more established communities might be attaching various labels to the new communities. They could be blamed for antisocial behavior or fly tipping or the general lack of pride in the neighborhood. That's something that's been coming up all the time during those 10 years and just attached to different new groups, I would say. But also, there is a general, lack of knowledge, lack of experience of diversity very often, and having to come to terms with and kind of having to navigate your way through a diverse community, which I think in some ways we have made a part of our mission as a community space to be this bumping contact, but also exploration space where people could get together and get to know each other a bit more and kind of overcome those stereotypes and misconceptions. Because it's quite a transient community and a lot of new people coming, then also there aren't a lot of established groups, or the new ones, take quite a long time to become organized. So often there aren't groups that we can tap into, and which sometimes could be an easier way of getting people involved. So again, if you're starting a project in the neighborhood and you're lucky enough to have, a group of Yemeni moms who already meet, or you have a very active Ahmadiyya mosque or something, or you have a Polish Saturday school, then that's a real winning situation and quite a big opportunity, to invite them and to start using the space. If you're talking about trying to invite individuals from those groups and kind of in some ways you might be helping them to become a group by doing, for example, thematic events. That's much more of a challenge. And also it's quite a poor neighborhood, quite a young and poor neighborhood. So people have limited resources. So for us, it has been a very strong part of our mission to make sure that everything that we do is free. Because for people who might have 5 children, for example, paying £1 for a face painting for each of those children is actually a big challenge. And that might be a big barrier from them stopping them from coming to events, because suddenly you come with a young child to event and you end up spending £20 because there is so many activities that are calling for you to spend money. So just to show you a little bit more of the space, when we started, so probably about, I think these photos come probably from 2012 roughly. So a lot of what Anna was saying, I could really relate to, and I could see ourselves there at the beginning, but also still kind of changing and adapting to changing circumstances. So it was a piece of derelict land. It had been flats that were demolished. It was quite a big space for drug dealing and antisocial behavior, lots of fly tipping. There were ideas of making it into a car park. But a group of people asked the council and the local housing association if it could temporarily become a community garden instead. And that's how it started. And initially, for probably the first 4 years, we didn't have toilets, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have running water. So all of those things we had to get from our neighbors, and literally, from terraced houses next door or from a small community center next door, who would let us use their facilities and connect our garden hose to their place, or run a cable over the fence. So again, that has been quite a good example of good community spirit, but also quite a big challenge, especially when organizing events. The first, to some extent, maybe before I became involved, and I don't want it to make, it's quite a difficult part of the story to tell, I suppose, because again, I completely agree with what Anna was saying, that really the garden reflects, so the community garden reflects the people who are involved in it, and they come with their own ideas and their own skills and their own social capital and cultural traditions and so on. And it's them who shape it or keep on shaping it over the years. And that certainly has been the case with us. Because of when I got involved, I was, I had a community background and also academic background in culture animation and community arts. And I think that changed the way we were engaging with the local community to a large extent. Because at the beginning, we would be very much nature and also maybe allotment orientated space, maybe more traditional in terms of community gardens, even though I'm not sure if you can actually use that category with community gardens because they're just so different. There's such a huge diversity of approaches. But definitely we were much more about growing, a little bit about wildlife, a little bit about nature education. We would be open 1 day a week on Thursdays. We would be inviting local community to come on that day and do a little bit of gardening and, various kind of landscaping jobs. Once a month, we would have an event which we called a Dig It Day, when we would invite people from the local community to come. And, we would obviously work with local schools or other groups to come and use we would encourage them to use the space. But really, we very much had the same group of people coming to the events, maybe the same group of 4 volunteers coming on Thursdays. And it wasn't exactly having the kind of impact that we were hoping to have as a group. Which is when we came up with an idea that actually maybe let's try a different approach. Let's be more about families. Let's try doing community fun days. Let's try to make the garden much more of a venue in a way. So a space for the community to get together, to have fun for free. And there would be a big range of activities, but really maybe what we should be about is about bringing communities together and be a social space. And I think that was the shift from, obviously we are still a garden, but the gardening isn't our focus. Our focus is the community. And again, let me just stress, this is the model that we have chosen in a way, and we have been using over the years. It's by no means the only model, or I don't know, even maybe the best model, I don't know, but it seems to be working for us. So this is what the garden looks now, or rather what it looked like probably a couple of years ago. So it has changed. I'm already looking at it and thinking, oh, this is different. We've got this amazing new playground, for example, now. That means that every day after school, right next to a school, we get probably 120 children just run into the garden and spend the hour after school here with the parents, which is absolutely amazing. And this is something that we have always wanted in a way, but it also comes with its own challenges. So now, one person needs to be out there and supervise at all times because parents just don't do it. So if we don't want the space to be wrecked, then we have to have resources put into this type of use. So as I said, we do lots of community events. We do monthly open days at the garden, and they very often have a culture focus. So we link in with what I would say standard celebrations. So we would have an Easter egg hunt, we would have a Christmas event, we would have a Diwali event, Halloween, bonfire night, all of those celebrations that are kind of standard in a way. We have done a lot of events that are focused on a specific culture. So we would have a Polish open day or Bengali open day or Slovak open day. And very often we would either invite a group or an organization to help us organize it and present the culture to the wider community. Or we would work with local families that we knew, with individuals, and try to put up stalls and activities and food. And that has worked really well as a model of engaging people from specific ethnic backgrounds, because they could really see that they care about us, or that, this is a space that's our space, that wants to engage with us specifically and sees us in a way in the community. So that has been maybe one of the biggest game changers in a way, in terms of getting different communities sustainably engaged in the garden. I said about different traditions, working with local groups. As I said, if you have a group there, I can't stress enough the importance of doing a good community mapping and thinking, okay, so what have we got there in terms of who could we work with? So these are the schools we have in the area, these are the nurseries, there is a job center, I don't know, there is Afghan Community Association, there's a women's center, there is 7 mosques of different traditions, these churches and so on. So you pretty much do the mapping exercise, and then you start building a relationship with those people in the first instance, and you let them use the space for free. You invite them to use it for barbecues and picnics. You do activities specifically for them. Obviously, if it's ethnic group that might require gender segregation, then you do separate events or activities for women and for men, and so on and so on. So in a way, it's almost thinking, okay, so how can we engage with all of these diverse communities? And then the next question would be, okay, so are we engaging with people of all ages? How do we, these people are missing, how do we engage with them? Who can we ask for help in engaging with them? So for us, I think the kind of, I would say we engage very successfully with families. And for quite a while, we have had a difficulty engaging with young people of kind of teenage age, partially also because of our opening hours. So at the moment, we open Monday to Friday and 10 until 4 when they're at school. And then we open at weekends when they might potentially be using the garden. And we found that for us, the best way of doing it has been linking with secondary school and offering work experience, and also becoming a volunteering opportunity for them in terms of working with specific projects. So for example, with a play scheme we run in every school holiday, or garden Saturdays, which is family activities that we put on every Saturday, and families have to book for them, and teenagers very help us organize them and help us run the activities every Saturdays. Then we had, young adults, and again, the best way of engaging with them for us have been through working with kind of work experience agencies and colleges as well. Young parents, we started putting on toddlers group once a week, and at the moment it's one of our most active groups. We started it right after lockdown, and it was incredibly successful. I can see from Nina's face that I need to finish.
Sorry, I'm glad that you
can just keep on going on and on about it. But anyway, so yes, probably what I would say. Look at your community and try to learn how it works, and then find your friends in the community and your partners. Be open as much as possible. That's the biggest challenge, I would say, because if you run by volunteers, people, it's very difficult to have regular commitment. And if you only were open for 2 hours on Thursdays, you would be excluding loads and loads of people from getting involved. And have regular activities on, things like, creative projects, women's group at the same slot every week, men's group, family activities, and so on. And do this mapping of ages and community groups and ethnic groups and so on, and everybody that could be involved in your project.